Welcome to ETMATech Talk, the podcast that unveils forces shaping the future of tech. In each episode, we bring together visionary leaders, forward-thinking innovators, and game-changing experts who are transforming the enterprise tech landscape. Listen to insider perspectives, dive into bold stories of digital transformation, and strategic breakthroughs that turn challenges into competitive advantages. Whether you're looking to scale disruptive innovations, navigate the evolving tech landscape, or explore the latest in AI, technology expertise management, IT services and consulting, cybersecurity, and other technology challenges, this podcast is your key to mastering the future of technology. Here is your host, ETMA's Managing Director, Joe Basili.
Today, I'm delighted to have someone with nearly 3 decades of invaluable experience in delivery and operations, significantly contributing to the operational excellence and process reengineering within global capability centers. His career includes pivotal roles at industry giants such as HSBC, Perot Systems, and Deloitte. Today, we're honored to welcome the Senior Vice President and Lead for Global Capability Centers at Inspiredge. Ram, welcome.
Thank you so much, Joe. Pleasure. Thanks for the kind words and good morning.
Good to have you. We're going to talk about best practices and strategies as it relates to global capability centers, strategies in setting them up. But before we get into that, let's just get a little bit of discussion about what Inspiredge, your firm, specializes in.
Sure. Inspiredge is a IT solutions firm. Okay, we have a very good balance of we provide consulting solutions. We have expense management. Now we started Global Capability Center as a service. We call it as Extend. We provide quality services. We provide digital services. So yeah, we balance and we call ourselves as an IT solutions consulting firm.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about Global Capability Centers, or GCC.
Yeah.
Why don't you just define for us, what is a Global Capability Center?
Yeah, so Global Capability Center is a new word, but when you look back, earlier it used to be called as offshoring or outsourcing. So when it comes to the Global Capability Center, the primary difference is you have a company in US, they have their extended office offshore, could be in India, right? So here the entire ownership is with the parent company. So it is not just part of the work that has been given, it's a strategic hub. GCCs are nothing but a strategic hub. They can start their R&D, they can do the innovation, they can have their HR compliance. So based on the requirement strategic position of the parent company, the GCCs have evolved. So it's more of a strategic innovation that led to the evolution of these GCCs. And if I tell you earlier in US, I'm sure you are aware, outsourcing, they used to outsource some basic work to countries where they get it done for a better price. So it has evolved for a period of time. We will see as we progress and talk about the GCCs. I'm sure we will see how they have evolved and we'll discuss more. But in a nutshell, Global Capability Center is a strategic hub, extension of the parent company from one country to the other country, and they want to be truly a global player.
Would you say one of the advantages of establishing a global capability center versus offshoring or outsourcing and offshoring would be control, that a company has maybe greater control than if it just simply offshored process?
Yeah. So the primary difference I see, Joe, is when you offshore or outsource, it's like a vendor relation, right? When you have the GCC, it's your own company. The ownership is entirely with the parent company. And the GCC also will be in line with the overall vision of the parent company. They work towards the any strategic go-to-market strategy, or so to say, what is the vision for next 2 years? How are we going about? Everything is in line. So I would actually say no, GCCs is much better for the parent company because you have your own team and you're also increasing your global footprint.
Great. That's a really good distinction. So tell us about the current status of GCCs in India?
Oh, India GCCs, every week you have a new GCC starting up. As per the NASCAM, is a board where we have close to 1950 GCCs functional, and this number is going to touch 3,000 in next couple of years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's go through a little bit of the evolution of
Mhm.
GCCs over time, if you would.
Yeah, sure. Basically, I will tell my own story, how I was part of this. So
Great.
GCCs, when they started in early 2000, predominantly the reason was on the cost arbitrage, right? You have the dollar versus Indian rupee advantage. And they also thought all admin related easy tasks, back office work, it could be IT support, those were the things. So if I relate that to my work experience, okay, when in 2000 we all saw how the dot com suddenly boomed in 2000s. So there were a lot of companies in US like Priceline.com, name your own price for gas. These were very familiar at the beginning of the 2000. I happened to join my career started in GCCs like that. I joined as a team lead, and 6 months into it, the dot com bubble burst happened.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, so we're on the bench. What I mean to say is, initial first phase of the GCCs is to give the backend support. Okay, identify a simple task that can be worked upon and completed when you give it to an offshore with a much better price. You have the cost advantage. That was the first phase, and it was between 2000 to 2005, and all. Then 2005 to 2012, as these companies have started working in 5 years, understanding, and even the US has seen the skills and competencies and potential, some complex related work started coming in. That's the time you have the captive centers coming in. When I say captive, you talked about HSBC during my introduction. So HSBC started their operations in India. Deloitte, we all know, is one of the big four companies. They have started their operations in Hyderabad, India. So, again, to my story, after starting my career working at Brigade as a team lead, then I moved to HSBC, where I worked for 5 years working on different financial transactional related processes. I even traveled to US, identified what are some of the feasible processes that can be migrated to India. I migrated them back to India, got them to business as usual status, so on and so forth. Then that's the second phase where it's little complex work or a specific activity. For example, that's the time slowly the center of excellence started coming in. They do a specialized work. It could be marketing, sales, or it could be IT support. So that's the phase two. Phase three between 12 to 23, I would say, is slowly the emerging technologies started coming in, wherein the emergence of blockchain, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and all these new technologies, emerging technologies, were very disruptive in nature. Companies started embracing these technologies, and that led to a lot of innovation. I would actually say that kind of transformed the way the global business has happened. That's the very critical phase of between 13 to 23. And we are in 25. Now artificial intelligence is not an option, right? Irrespective of the industry you are in, you have to embrace. Otherwise, you become obsolete in the market. The emerging technologies are no more optional. With that, what happened in this final phase, at the current phase where we are in, even the American market companies have started seeing the value. There are multiple reasons. One is, as I told you, definitely the emerging technologies. Two, India has young talent who are very skilled and competent. They get for a better price in terms of cost. So then, from earlier in the phase three, where they were working here, they used to look up to the parent company for some of the decisions. Now, slowly, they have started opening their own global innovation capability centers here. The decision making, the global leaders are sitting out in these GCCs and taking the decisions for the entire globe for their operations. So, from taking inputs, taking instructions on the how to do business, India is emerging as a global capability center, the epic center where most of these GCCs are operating and they've become strategic decision makers. So that's the phase we are in.
Gotcha. And what do you think the future holds? So you mentioned artificial intelligence. Obviously, that's going to be affecting everybody. But what do you think for GCCs? What do you see for the next few years if you were to predict or lay out what's happening? What do you think is coming?
So for that, Joe, when you look at what kind of industries are coming through GCCs, right? Predominantly software and IT related. That has the major portion of these GCCs. Then you have healthcare. We also have manufacturing and engineering. Then we have banking, financial sector also is starting there. They're very active. And so when I talked about these different industries, and when you look at the emerging technologies like artificial intelligence or blockchain, they are everywhere. There is no limitation to the industry, right? Boeing has started their global capability center, which is one of the largest global capability center in Bangalore. They've taken 6 million SFT space for their R&D and innovation and overall support. Of course, they're going to span it in different phases, but which talks about volumes. So that every industry is coming and investing in this global capability center because they see a lot of value in it. What started for a cost advantage, now they started realizing the value in it, and now cost is not even a parameter for bigger companies. They want to do a lot of investment in innovation. They want to start the R&D here. They want to do product development. So yeah, so artificial intelligence also will have the significant role like it has in all other industries, even for the GCCs. So I'll just spend a quick minute. If you're talking about the talent acquisition, right? By using these artificial intelligence tools, you can definitely reduce the time taken. For there are duplicate profiles coming in, for example, where you have to do the initial screening. You have the resume reader, wherein based on the key words, it would identify whether a profile matches or not. You don't even need to get into a call and understand, talk to the potential candidate. By reading the profile, the artificial intelligence tools can determine whether this is a fit or not. That's an
Gotcha.
example.
Okay, so we talked about the future. Let's go back to the here and now.
Yeah.
What do you target particular market segments, or is it more about targeting countries where you're seeking to set up this GCC capability for clients that are based in certain countries, or with, like you mentioned, banking before, manufacturing? Which would you say takes more of a priority in your role?
I would say Inspiredge particularly, we provide end-to-end solutions from a GCC perspective. Okay, we've recently concluded a unified communications for a client. We established their global capability center. It was a build, operate, and transfer. We call it as BOT model of GCCs. We built a global innovation capability center where we have recruited, onboarded, and streamlined the operations and transferred the group of close to 350 engineers across different tiers, which are niche skills. Some of them have Avaya background with OEM. We call it as original equipment manufacturer, right? Avaya, Cisco, Microsoft, and we have some project managers, Salesforce. Across these OEMs, we have domains, we have built and successfully transitioned that project. So with that said, we do not target any specific industry or a country per se. Wherever there is a need, we are here in India to facilitate for someone who wants to start their GCCs but they really don't know how to go about it. We can help them.
Gotcha. Okay. And let's switch and Ram, let's get into, we promised at the beginning of this podcast, we'd talk a little bit about best practices as
Yes,
well as some strategies. So
correct.
let's talk about key factors, strategies, and best practices. Maybe we should start with regulatory compliance and
Yeah.
what you see both local and get into all the components of it. But let's start with regulatory compliance.
Perfect, perfect. So in India, like any other country, when you wanted to start a firm, right, in a legal entity, there is a process. We call it as statutory legal entity establishment process. It involves chartered accountants. Back in US, you call them as CPAs. Here we call them as CAs. You have some attorneys, is what you call. We have lawyers. They have to make sure that those documentation is clear. Then they go through. there are some federal laws, we call it as register of companies, where they go and register. What happens is, for example, I want to start Joe Basil's GCC. First, the name should be available with the register of companies. It actually starts from there. When you register a name, no one should claim that I have already registered. From there, completing the process of name registration, creating a statutory board. So it's a normally a lengthy process. It usually takes time. And I would feel for someone who are not very familiar with these rules and regulations of this country, for them to come and start, it will be a little challenging. Okay. So when you have partners like us, Inspiredge, we do have very good partner ecosystem. We have done this before. We can handle multiple projects at a time. For example, I have 3 to 4 GCC legal entity registrations that have to happen. I know for sure with the kind of support system I built, I can do it seamlessly. The best part is they can definitely do it faster compared to if you want to do it on your own independently. Two, you get a regular update on the milestones. Okay, your name has been confirmed. This is the registration is done. And by next week, you will have this entity cleared. You will get a clearance from the label. And so all those things will be given a timely update.
Okay, so now we've got the legal foundation as a
Yeah.
starting point and regulatory compliance. We're compliant. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, if you will, and this whole idea of cultural integration. Obviously, there's different communication styles, how the workplace norms, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. In fact, if I have to tell you sequentially, once we do the global capability, I mean, the legal compliance establishment is done, one of the key important thing is the infrastructure. We'll come to that little bit later. First, let me answer your question. So, once the talent acquisition team starts recruiting people, right, as and when they onboard, it is very important to ensure that whoever is getting onboarded, they first are they're well aware of the different work cultures they're going to work. So it's very common that during the onboarding itself there will be cultural integration training programs, and it is not just one way. Okay, the team, the GCC, will be told about their parent company, their work culture, what kind of policies. Similarly, there would be a session conducted for the parent company also. What are the norms? What are the customs in India? Because predominant the holidays could be different. You have Thanksgiving holiday,
Right.
whereas the festivals are different. So all those things will be covered here. That's what we call it as cultural integration. So, taking a step back from here, after we have completed the legal entity establishment, important thing is to look at where is that you want to put your facility. In India, you have Bangalore has the maximum GCC at this point of time, closely followed by Hyderabad. Then we also have Noida, Pune, Chennai, Kolkata. All these are metro cities. Interestingly, because of the cost or what we require, there is tier two cities like Vizag is starting with coming out with GCCs. Coimbatore is another city. All this is happening because you have excellent infrastructure available, you have talent available, and the local government policies will definitely help someone to start their GCCs. So, when you want to finalize an infrastructure, what kind of facility, and I'm sure you would also agree, post pandemic, it's a really challenge for us to get the employees back to work. Most of us were working remote or working from home. And companies they want to definitely, they want to give the aesthetics, the look and feel of the company, the office itself, they wanted to have it in an innovative way. They don't want to have normal cabins or they don't want to have normal desk model kind of thing, so to say. So based on the requirement, we can customize the office space. Yeah, so there are so many things. So when I talk to you about how Inspiredge goes about all this, first we need to understand which industry you're coming from to start a GCC. What is your vision? Are you planning to? Is there any? So when we are finalizing on a facility, you also have to look at if it has to be scalable. Let's say you are starting with 300 people, but down the line, 8 to 10 months, you want to make it 650. So the facility I'm looking for should allow me to expand without any trouble. I should be able to, it should be scalable. It's not like I started here, now you want 650, I should jump to some other place. No. So we consider all these factors, and when we prepare the blueprint with the client, we discuss all these. Based on that, we suggest. So infrastructure is the another key factor after legal entity.
Okay, so we've got legal, we've got the cultural piece and communications
Yeah.
set up. Let's talk about the next piece, which is everybody's striving for operational excellence. And how do we streamline the operations? What do you do for process improvements and that sort of thing? So, how do you go about really, as you framed it, engineering this process, if you will?
Sure. In fact, I believe that like quality, they say it, right? Quality is an attitude of a person, right? It all depends what is it I want to give you. If you're my customer, I'm working with you, what kind of experience is what I'm trying to give that determines the quality. It's not just a number for me. Coming back to the process, operational excellence or process re-engineering, at Inspiredge, we always strive to give the best to the customer. We have this constant quest to do the process improvement, right? Once you initially establish a process, we keep checking, asking questions. Is it the right way? Is it the only way of doing it, or is there a better way of doing it? How can I improve? Is one part of it. Two is what are the set processes and what is the adherence? Are there any gaps? If there are, why is it happening? Probably I may have to conduct an awareness session to the team that they need to follow. I'll prepare a checklist and tell them, look, this is very critical. Don't overlook. Keep some attention. So we do all those adjustments. And at operation, at Inspiredge, what we do is we do periodic audits. We have prepared an exhaustive list depending on the program we support. It could be different parameters like communication, it could be on the SLA KPIs, it could be on the shift adherence, it could be on the quality, and we send a weekly, daily report. We keep abundant information to the client that what is happening with their work that's been delivered from India. It is very important because when you are working with someone who is offshore in a different place, they should see a quality of the work, right? For that, you have to build a seamless communication and you have to have this quest to improve constantly, and you have to inculcate that culture. Okay. At Inspiredge, we tell it's not a responsibility of a manager or a team lead or a vice president. We talk to team members, and I'm glad each of our team members understand the importance, and they go through these standard regular audits, refresher trainings, and they understand what's happening. Apart from the operation excellence audit, we also have some statutory standards called standards like Six Sigma. You have some standards where they do the process audit to make sure that all the documentation is in place. A new team member has joined, he has gone through the proper training before he's put to production. He's completed all the checklist is done.
Okay.
We check all this. So all this, so we believe in a zero suppressed framework. We strive to get to there. You have every day something or other popping up, and you fix it and move on.
Okay, very good. And so let's talk about staffing and hiring and how do you go about, at the end of the day, we got to have people working in this global capability center.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, Joe, talent acquisition is one of the very, very key factor, very important factor, I would say, in this entire process of GCCs. Because if you don't have the right talent, right, it's very difficult. You may not be able to achieve anything. So the talent acquisition, as I'll take the example of the GICC that we built, where to finalize the 350, 400 odd engineers, we went through multiple sources of the sourcing. One good thing is at Inspiredge, maximum of our profiles come through internal reference, employee referral program. Okay, I've been working in Spirits. I refer my friend or an acquaintance or a relative here. That has contributed to 50% of our talent acquisition. Apart from that, we have a lot of partner ecosystem that we have. We work with vendors, we work with consultants, we use the social media platforms like LinkedIn. In India, we have Monster, Naukri, These are portals, job portals that are available. So we take those packages, take those right profiles. We make sure, irrespective of the program, it could be engineering industry, it could be any industry. First, what we do is we do test the communication skills of any resource that they come into the GCCs, because they have to interact. So they should have excellent communication skills, interpersonal skills. They should be able to comprehend as to what the customer is talking to them. They should be able to write crisp emails, right? To convey the accurate messaging. So this is the first stage. Then comes the technical screening. And we do internally, when we did the BOT project, we have the internal team clearing it. Once that internal, we have two levels of internal screening. Once it is done, then client wanted, sometimes few clients say, no, you decide, you on board, we are okay. But few clients want to say, we also want to talk to them because they're going to be our employees. So we facilitate. When we do that, the time taken is a little longer because you have to work on different shift timings, the night times, the schedules. They talk, but at times they don't give feedback because of their schedules. So I would like to highlight one point here is the Indian job market is slightly different from US. And here, if you have to give notice, the minimum notice period is 60 days. That's the norm. And for some positions in some companies, it's up to 90 days also.
Wow.
So talent acquisition becomes very challenging if we don't move through the recruitment process swiftly. And what we've done is we've come out with an innovative idea of buddy program. And we also usually have, you release the offer, once a candidate is shortlisted, you release the offer, they take it, they don't join. While their 60 days of notice period, they give this offer, they do the window shopping, get a better hike at some other place, and they go there. So it is very challenging. It is not easy. So we've come up with a program called Buddy Program. So once a person is shortlisted, we assign a senior team member who's with us already to talk to, that we make him a buddy. So acclimatize them about the company work culture, the policies, how is it, flexibility in terms of, can I, if I want to work from home, how is, usually these are the things people may not ask in the interview, but they would definitely want to, that gives them the comfort. That's how we were able to manage the, not just the offer acceptance, but even the onboarding. These are the very critical components. How do you
Sounds
make,
like it. And then what's the infrastructure like? Obviously, you mentioned emails before. So what sort of considerations and best practices come into designing the infrastructure? You've taken care of the regulatory compliance. You've talked about cultural integration, operations, and streamlining it, staffing. But how do you connect this all so that people can actually do the work?
Sure. So, what, as I told you, first thing when we wanted to start at Inspiredge, the Global Capability Center as a service, one of the things we have realized is you definitely need to have good partner ecosystem built, whether it is for legal entity establishment or is it for infrastructure. Today, I can tell you, we have very good partners across cities in India. You take about Bangalore, Hyderabad, Visakhapatnam, we have our own premises, we have our own office building, and we have Chennai. Across 7 to 8 metros, we have close to 3 million square feet of availability of real estate. The moment we have a client coming in, based on their aesthetics, based on their, how do they want the interiors to be, based on the color branding, etc. Once that is finalized, 60 to 60, 75 days, we can keep the, we have the shelves ready, we can keep the office operational. And here, one of the important thing is you need to have the right IT team, understanding the parent company IT infrastructure and how that has to operate down to the GCCs. Make sure you have the right protocols, you have the right security systems from a network security perspective. Ensure there are no cyber attacks. Make sure all people are connected. You have the required firewalls, and IT team also works in tandem with the infrastructure, and they go in hand. And we make sure that we have the people can just come plug in and play. So they just need to come in and start working.
Okay. Are there additional things we talked already about the regulatory framework and a little bit of legal, but are there other things that you want to add in that discussion about the legal entity? Because I know obviously legal kind of looms large under some of this.
Yeah, it is. See, again, what happened? Those are specifics, Joe. When you want to start, there is a process. You have to come, sit, and fill a form, come with the complete details. As I told you earlier, you need to have the name availability. Okay, no others should claim that name. Then you have to go, and submit the documentation. What will be the turnover? How much of turnover are you anticipating? How many people do you want to recruit? What kind of taxes you are going to pay? All those things will be determined. And even when the talent acquisition is happening, there are some statutory things like we provide provident fund, which is mandatory for all the employees working in. It's a central government scheme. Provident fund is part of your salary will be, it's a forced saving, and that amount is not taxed. That can be used by these employees after the retirement or at some point when they need it. So all those things, it's a process driven thing, and it is not for one, it's for everybody who wants to start. It's a federal law.
Gotcha. Okay. And so once you get the Global Capability Center up and running,
Yeah.
how long is it typically before you start considering, okay, when are we going to do a transfer of this? And when is the project, in effect, that phase of it complete, would you say?
Honestly, it depends on the client requirement and the contractual agreement.
Ah,
We can do it as quickly as in 6 months. We can do it for 18 months also.
okay. So it
So
could be pretty fast or it could take some time.
exactly. And there are, as I told you, there are different ways. The one which we did recently was BOT, where we recruited people on our payroll. We have streamlined operations. We made sure all trainings are done. They're ready to go. And when we are hiring them itself, we clearly wrote in their appointment letter that after 18 months, you will be transferred to this company. So we concluded the transfer by transferring all these employees without any dropouts as per the contract. We send them there. That's one. If you want to do it in 6 monthly fashion, what we can do is we can work as your advisory and start recruiting directly on your payroll. So that
Gotcha.
way,
Okay. And how do you just make sure that the transition is a smooth and seamless transition, if you will?
no matter how much you want it to be smooth, you will have a lot of hiccups, last minute tension. So even there, we follow a process, right? From the inception, we believe in proper documentation. Everything is documented. It could be the number of profiles given versus number of profiles shortlisted, number of offers released, number of people joined, to what kind of training programs conducted. Everything is properly documented when this will be transitioned. So we just follow that process and make sure that time to time we keep regular milestone meetings between the client and us, and we tell them these are the, as we also give a blueprint of the project highlights. Let's say once you start, probably after 3 months we would have been ready with the legal entity would have been done, infrastructure is done, talent acquisition is happening. So we do weekly, bi-weekly and monthly reviews to see where we stand, how are we with the plan versus actual, what kind of tweaks that we need to do so that we don't miss the timelines. So we work in a process driven manner, and we make sure that we document everything and we transition everything and we take the sign off from the client also. And it is not just transferring, we will be there as per the contractual agreement for some time till the time they become they can manage independently. We'll give the required support.
Great. So it sounds like the secret sauce, if you will, is that you've got a really highly structured process, right?
That's
You've got you're all about documenting things, and you're also considering the other soft aspects of cultural and hiring people and everything that goes into hiring. Is there
that's
anything else that we missed that about this process?
No, we covered the complaints. We talked about the infrastructure and IT. We also talked about talent acquisition. Then we spoke about the operation excellence. Then we spoke about the knowledge transfer. Then,
Perfect. So why Inspiredge then? Why should a company that's listening to this think about your firm?
perfect. So, Inspiredge has the leadership team who are experts in building these offshore operations. If you take my example, in the last 27, 28 years of my work experience, I was involved in establishing these GCCs, so to say, multiple GCCs. And the recent one being the Global Innovation Capability Center for a unified communications customer of US. We have a great leadership who understands what could be the biggest pain and how do we come over it. First. Second, agility is our strength. As I've told you earlier, we have good partner ecosystem. We will be able to turn it around much faster and efficiently. Then we have our own inbuilt processes. I talked about operation excellence. We have set some standards that actually gives a great experience to the client. And when you ask, if you ask me how do you go about it, so this again we have a three-phased approach. The moment we hear that someone wants to start a GCC, we would definitely, the phase one is to sit with a potential client and understand what is their business into, which industry they are looking at, and why do they want to start in India, and what is their road plan. The reason this is this critical because the information gathering will we will get a sense. We do the strategic consulting, so to say, and we will also based on their plan, based on their requirements, we prepare a blueprint. In that blueprint, we will advise, for example, if you're talking about a healthcare GCC, just for an example, we would recommend Hyderabad because the talent availability in Hyderabad, the infrastructure, and if you see most of the healthcare related GCCs are in Hyderabad. If it is IT software, obviously Bangalore comes first, and next is Hyderabad again. Or if you're looking at a banking or a insurance related, down south we go to Chennai. So what happened over a period of time? These cities also have developed a niche for a specific industry. And last but definitely not least, we also give the client some recommendations on the real estate cost variance as well. And any GCC that you are going to, it should be easily accessible to the global leaders. For that, they should just hop in and hop out. So it should be accessible. You should have good infrastructure, not just the hotels. All those things we consider, and we do the recommendation. That's a phase one. Then the establishing of this infrastructure phase two. Once we take their preferences, building, how should it look like, what should be the aesthetic, what should be the interiors look like, are there any brand related colors that we should use so that it is in line with the parent company, right? All those things, IT, all these things are done. And you have the third phase where talent acquisition is coming in, people are getting onboarded, they're going through all the required initial trainings, cultural integration trainings, so on and so forth. Once these three phases are done, then my role comes in as the delivery head and operations head to streamline the processes, make sure it is autopilot, then do the knowledge transfer to the customer. That's the so why you need Inspiredge? For these reasons. We are quick, we do it faster, we do it efficiently. We have good partner ecosystem. And as I told you, we have close to 3 million square feet real estate available readily today. In any of the cities in India that you want to start, we can give you the operational office ready in 65 days.
Are there any like certifications or special skills that your team has?
Again, it all depends on the client. So in the previous assignment that we have done with the BOT, the client wanted to make sure that all their employees should be industry certified. For example, in Avaya, we are talking about a OEM. Avaya, they wanted a specific industry certification to be completed. So we make sure all of them go through the certifications and they complete the certification, they are certified. And some certifications have timelines. It's not once you do it, it's not permanent. They have validity, say 24 months, 36 months, so on and so forth. Once it is done, because new technology would have added, they definitely need to enhance skills. It's an ongoing process, Joe, particularly in the IT industry. Okay.
What are your goals for the next 12 months?
Next 12 months, we are practical and aggressive. We would have done at least 3 to 4 GCCs in next 12 months.
Okay. And just as we start to wrap up this piece of the discussion, tell us something memorable or something funny about Inspiredge and about its approach, or maybe an example of something where things didn't quite work out the way that you thought they were going to work out?
Yeah, honestly, I did not have that challenge because, as I told you, Inspiredge is very well process driven. So I don't have those challenges. But when you have to recruit huge number of people, looking at 6 to 7,000 different profiles, working with the schedules of the client, making sure the candidates. Usually, what happens is when the client has the availability, it's a midnight for the candidate. They say they accept the invite. Midnight, 12 o'clock is the meeting, he's not turning up. He's not picking your phone. The client is waiting online in the bridge. I have numerous of such. But apart from those, if you ask me, the overall experience of establishing is a great memory for me. It's a great, not just because it became a great success. I have had my own share of learnings. What I thought would work, I realized it not necessarily it would work. Okay, like in any industry, but it's a good learning. Finally, we could breathe sigh of relief once we successfully transitioned it. So it's a great, it remains one of the great memories at work for sure.
Nice. So, like in your role, what's a typical day look like?
Yeah, my wife complains that I'm always working. So it's, yeah, so I may not, she always complains that I don't have the right work life balance, so to say. But yeah, typically my day starts early in the morning. I usually go to bed at around 12 o'clock in the night, India time, midnight. That's the time because I would have done with all the calls with the clients, and all. I get up early. I can't sleep. I can't see the sun rising by the time I wake up. So I get up early. I do my regular walk, some exercise. Then I check my emails, priority emails that I need to immediately respond to, some of the clients or the leadership things that I. Then I look into my calendar, plan the day.
Mm.
Of meetings I have to do. There will be internal meetings, coaching meetings, performance related meetings, and leadership meetings for the road plan. Then we also have monthly business reviews happening. And after 5 o'clock India time, my calendar becomes very busy because I'll be talking to most of my US clients. They're awake, so it's their business hours. I'll be busy at that time. So I work from Monday to Friday, and Saturday, Sunday is my week off. Usually I sleep Saturday early morning. Yeah, and so it's good. So nothing different like anybody else in India. So it's a routine.
Are there just any early life experiences as we get more personal on this, or people that set you on the path, or things that you did as a kid that resemble what you do today?
I know. I don't think so. I don't think anything is planned. You don't believe
Really?
I started my career in front end sales. I was a salesman. That's how I started my career. I ended up because my mom was always, you're always on the road. I met with an accident, road accident, and she convinced me that I will not be in sales. So that's how I ended up in a BPO, the business process outsourcing, as a team lead. I told you right about the Priceline.com, the when the .com was booming in US in 2000s, early 2000s. That's how I got into these BPO GCCs. So it's been 25 years, my journey with GCCs.
Yeah. So it sounds like your mom had a pretty good influence on you then.
She did have, yeah.
That's great. And on a personal level, like how do you stay up to date on current events and all the news and things that are impacting what you do with GCCs?
Oh yes, ask me because when I look back, I'm a 1975 born. So those days, access to information was the challenge, right? You don't know. You have to go to a library, or we're not. When in my childhood, I don't even know what computer is. But now today, abundance of information is a challenge. You don't know what to filter and what to read. But with that said, there are quite a few platforms created for all the GCC players to come together and share their knowledge. There are, for example, I follow something called a GCC Rise. They give amazing insights as to what is happening on the industry, who is the new player emerging, sorting their operations in India, how's the market looking like, what would be the salary hikes they're planning to give, every insights. And they also conduct a lot of knowledge sharing sessions and webinars from time to time. So I follow GCC Rise. Like that, we have multiple players available who are neutral in nature, but they do provide abundance of information for you.
And is this a website that you go to or a newsletter that you subscribe to? And again,
You,
repeat,
yeah,
what was it called again?
Rise, GCCRise.com is a website. I subscribe, so I get monthly. They also have a LinkedIn page, GCC Rise. So whatever is in the website, usually they put all the news articles, any insights, any. They do write wonderful reports. They do write wonderful articles. So I follow them. Then, as I told you, abundance of information is a challenge. So you just want to learn something, you have it on your
Like,
hand.
what are you working on right now in terms of like in the next 12 months, like key skills or knowledge or something that you're focused on? I
Yes,
need to really work on this.
sure. I come from a non-technical background. Okay, either in academics or in most of my work, I've been to the operations, delivery, stakeholder management, giving the assurance to the client that we will handle it, don't worry, that kind of role. I started realizing that artificial intelligence has really changed my outlook. I started developing interest towards technology, and I'm sure I'm not even at the basic stage for sure. I definitely want to learn only to use it. How can I use artificial intelligence tool? For example, if I have to make a presentation, earlier I used to take 1.5 2 hours. How can I use AI tool and do it in 10 minutes? So how can I
Makes sense. It
make
makes a
use
lot of
of,
sense.
yeah, how can I make use of these emerging technologies to help me perform better? And I'm sure these are not here to replace people, they're here to complement. So you should know how to embrace and make use of it and stay on top of your game.
What are you passionate about outside of work?
Oh, I love driving. Usually, I love driving. I have an SUV, so I drive any distance. I love to drive 300, 400 miles also. I make sure I drive. I also have interest in photography. I did some basic online course. I have a good DSLR. I click pictures. I click good candid pictures. It's not for as if you're posing. I don't click those. I want it has to be natural, and many a times the person whom I'm clicking may not even know that I'm clicking a picture. That's when you actually get the natural expression coming out and you see the person. So that's my other pastime. I have two kids. My daughter just completed her BTech graduation. My son is just completed his 12th standard. So they, whatever time left out, they both demand and squeeze that time with me. But otherwise, yeah. So it's a happy space I'm in. I love photography. I also spend time with friends, and I make sure give the equal portion of time for all this to make sure that I can sleep peacefully.
So you got balance.
Yes, I have to balance. I'm trying to balance.
That's a hard thing. We're all struggling with that.
Exactly.
So just as we start to wrap things up, if people want to learn more about Inspiredge and more about you, Ram, what is there a website URL or a
Yeah.
place where they should go to learn more?
Oh, yes. InspiredgeIT.com is our website. All our services and entire details, what's happening, leadership group, all the details are available. If you want to follow me on the LinkedIn, my name is Prasad Kondapalli on the LinkedIn. Prasad SAD Prasad and Kondapalli. I'm available on the LinkedIn.
Awesome. We'll definitely put it into the YouTube comments as well. This is really great. Thank you very much. I think this brings us to the end of another episode. I'll
Yeah,
see you on the next one.
sure.
And Ram, I really enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
I did. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Joe. It's wonderful to talk to you. I always enjoyed our interactions. So thank you so very much for having me here. A pleasure and looking forward.
ETMATech Talk podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes research, collective wisdom, and action. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions from the market's top problem solvers, making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode.